Okay, we can hear you now. Sorry, guys. Okay, so yeah, so this is what I've said. So basically, this is the process we're gonna do. I'm gonna read a question, or you're gonna do, I'm gonna give you a few seconds head start to do the question, and then we're gonna do it together afterwards. Okay, let me just zoom in. Oops. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're busy with question one. If you have your value, you can double tap the screen, or you can just give me a thumbs up, or you can comment your answer. Okay, yes I can. Somebody say yes we can. Okay. Okay, for those that just join us, make sure that you double tap the screen and also share this live. It will help a lot so that we can get this revision session on the For You page so that more grade 12 students can see this. Okay, so we want to calculate, they ask us to determine the value of K. And this one is worth 2 marks. And usually when they, yesterday I also mentioned it, when they ask you to determine a variable in this, or unknown, in this case it's K. And most of the times they will give you the equation, okay? And then what you need to ask yourself is there any point on this, on that specific graph, that I can substitute into my equation? And the answer is yes. So here's a point for the x, where the x is 4 and the y is 16. If there was any other point, so you can even substitute this point. So if there's any other point, let's say for instance a point, let me use my pencil. So let's say for instance at this point here, you can't use that point even if it was given, because it's not on the graph. Okay, so you can't use that one. So we're going to use this point. So let's substitute that point in there. So let's do that here. So we're gonna fx, let me first write that equation down like that. So it's fx equal to k to the power of x. But remember, this point we can substitute it into the equation because it's on the graph. So my x value is 4 and my y value is going to be 16. So let's write that here. So it's 16 equal to k to the power of 4. If you take the fourth root of on both sides to get rid of this 4 here, you will see that your k value is equal to 2, and this is your final answer. How many of you guys got 2? 2 as the k value. If you got 2, Friday, ne? Yes. Okay, use it 44260916 got the answer. And King also got the answer. Okay. Yes, 2. Let's move on to the next question. So it's going to be 5.2. Okay, so here they ask us, graph G is obtained by reflecting graph F about the line y equal to x. Determine the equation of G in the form y equals to blah blah blah. So we need to find the equation. We're reflecting this one in the y equal to x. So let me just draw that graph. I'm going to use my, where's my ruler? Okay, I'm just going to draw this line here. So here's a line, and this line is inverse line. It's called y equal to x. So now we're reflecting this graph in this line here. Okay, and they want you to determine the equation of the reflection of this one. So I'm going to give you a few, it's only worth 2 marks, so I'm going to give you like a minute head start to do that one. So I see someone said, Ndumi say, I got it, but I use another one. Yeah, just make sure if you're going to see your teacher anytime soon, I'm not sure what way you did it, but this is always my advice. Like in my sessions or in these sessions that I'm doing here, I'm only going to write down, most of the times, only one solution. There isn't another one. I'm going to write it just because I want to save some time. But if you got it another way, you got to the same answer, then you will get 1 mark, obviously, but I'm not sure what you did to get to your answer. And also make sure that you have a memo when you work through question papers to see if your solution is on that one. Okay, so here we are. So let's read the question one more time. The graph of G is obtained by reflecting. Okay, by the way, let me just see how many of you got the answer. Just give me a thumbs up or just double tap the screen. You can just double tap the screen if you got the answer, or you can just give me a thumbs up if you got the answer. Let's first see who got it. Okay, Precious King got it because I see double tap the screen. Cam, Comfort, Angel. Okay, so let's get to this one. We are trying to figure out what is the equation of this this function here, or this one, because it's now they told us that it's reflecting. We're going to reflect this in the line y equal to x, and whenever it's reflecting in this line, they are actually looking for the inverse of that one. So the inverse basically just means we're gonna swap the x and the y. We're going to swap those two to get the inverse. Okay, so from what I'm first going to do is I'm first going to write down the equation of the original graph of this graph, excuse me. So let's first do that, because in that way it will be much more easier. So the equation of that one is going to be y equal to 2x. Remember this and this is exactly the same thing, don't get confused. I'm just writing it in this way because this is what they do in most of the textbooks that I've seen. So the inverse is where we're going to swap the x and the y. Okay, so instead of the y here, I'm going to have the x, and instead of the x here, I'm going to have the y. So let's do that, write that down mathematically. So the inverse what's happening with this? Oh my shit. Okay, so the inverse, I'm just going to swap these two around. So it's going to be x equal to 2 to the power of y. And when I swap this around, you know, this is the exponential form. As we can see, the inverse of the exponential one is going to be this graph here, which is obviously going to be my log. So we're going to convert this into a log function, so a log equation. So it's going to be y is equal to log x base 2, and that's your final answer. Let me know if that's clear. That was 2 marks, so I assume it's not actually that challenging. Okay, let's see. If you got it, just double tap the screen or just give me a thumbs up. It will help a lot so that this live can also appear on the For You page so that more grade 12 students can see this. Okay, user got it. User 44260 got it. Who else got it? For those who have just joined us, make sure that you take out a pen and a notepad. We're doing grade 12 revision for the next few days. So that more grade 12 students can see this, obviously. Okay, Tumelo, Angel got it. Well done, guys. So reflection and inverse is the same thing. No, reflection and inverse is not the same thing. Remember, you can reflect in the y-axis, you can reflect in the x-axis, or you can reflect in the y and this line y equal to x. So the inverse is where you just swap the x and the y around. It's reflection and inverse is two different things. Because somewhere in the same question, we're going to reflect something, but they won't say it, but we're going to reflect about the y-axis. Okay, got it, got it, got it. Princess Imperial, I hope that is clear. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so here, can I zoom in a little bit? Let's see, I'm going to push it. Okay, in this one, let's say sketch the graph of G. Indicate on your graph, so now we're going to draw the equation of the graph of this one here. So here they say sketch the graph of G, indicate on your graph the coordinates of 2 points on G. Okay, so 5.3, I'm going to give you a few, this one is worth 4 marks, quite a lot of marks. I'm going to give you a 1 minute head start. For those who have just joined me, double tap the screen, share this live so that more grade 12 students can see this live session. Maybe a little bit of hope or a little bit of revision, you never know, okay? And if they have any questions, you're more than welcome to pop the question here as well. Okay, so let me see how many of you guys are done with your graph. Let's see. If you're done, give me a thumbs up. Just double tap the screen. Okay. Thank you for sharing, Mish. King got the answer. Got the graph. 442 got it. Clan. Must that one loud. Okay, so let's go have a look. So G is the inverse of this one. So this one is exponential. So the inverse is going to look like that. Okay, so let me just, I need my ruler now. Or do I? Okay, so let's do, this is 5.3. Let's draw the graph. It's just a rough one. And obviously this is my y, this is my x. And just remember, the inverse graph is just where you reflect the x and the y is going to swap around. So here you see the y value of this one was 1. So that means the inverse, which in this case is the log function, is going to become my x value. Okay, so let's make that dot there. So that's going to be 1. And before I'm gonna draw this point, the point that I'm going to use is this one, or you can use any point. Okay, just make sure that you substitute the values that you're going to choose. Let's say for instance you're going to choose 1, x is equal to 1. Okay, let's say for instance x1 is here. Okay, so if x is 1, then my y value is going to be 2. Okay, so that means the point, because they ask us here to indicate on your graph the coordinates of 2 points on G. This is going to be the 1 point and the other point is going to be one of these two. But let's say for instance you say, okay, I'm not going to use this one, I'm going to use 1 and 2. Then the point that's the inverse one is going to be 2 and 1. Okay, I'm just making an example. I'm not saying that you should use 1 or 2 or this is the correct one. I'm just give you an idea. But I mean, this was given, so why not use it? So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Just let me first draw this one. It's going to be a really rough one, so it's going to look something like that. It's not that accurate, but there we go. Okay, it's going through this point. Like I said, it's 1 and 2, 0. And remember, this is the inverse one. Inverse is telling me the x and the y is swapping around. Okay, the x and the y swapping around. So my x is going to be 16 and my y value is going to be 4. So it's going to be there. So this point is going to be 16 and 4. Okay, so everything is there. We sketched the graph. We indicated on the graph 2 points. So that will be your final one. Okay, let's go to the next question. Guys, let me read some comments here, if there's any. If you have any questions based on the graph, please ask now before we run out of time. If you got the answer, double tap the screen or just give me a thumbs up, okay, so that we can move forward. Okay, let's move to the next question, which is, now they ask us, well, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to draw this one also on my graph, okay? I'm also going to do this one. Let me do that one. Okay. Because in this question, I'm going to need it, okay? This is going to be our F. This green one is the one that was given, okay? Just remember that. That was given there. Okay, now, in this question, they ask us, use your graph to determine the values or the value of x, for which if we multiply the y values of both these graphs, we're supposed to get something that's greater than 0, which means something that's positive. So that would give us 2 marks. I'm going to give you 1 minute start. Going to give you a few seconds head start for that one. And for those who have just joined us, make sure that you share this live. Make sure that you double tap the screen. In this way, more grade 12 students can see that we are doing revision, okay, for paper 1. And for the next few days, we're going to do paper 1 and up until Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday's challenging, and then we're gonna do paper 2 stuff. Okay. Okay. Okay, lifesaver, to be honest. Let's save more lives by sharing this live. Okay, so 2 marks worth. Remember, in this case, you'll notice, first of all, this graph wasn't there, and then I just drew it again and I highlighted it in green. This is the one that we answered from the previous question. But now, in this question, they want to know where is, if we take the y value of this graph, somewhere this, the x values, the y values of this graph, and the y values of the other one, if we multiply those y values, we're supposed to get numbers that are greater than 0. They're not looking for x values, they're not looking for y values, but we're looking at the y values. So that's going to be, if we look everything on that side. So remember, by the way, both these values must be positive, okay, or both must be negative. But remember, this one don't have any negative values, x values, okay, so we're not going to take the negative into consideration. So those x values is going to be everything from this point onwards, okay? So from this point onwards, okay, my graph is a little bit bad. So from this point onwards to the left, to the right side, we're going to get, we have positive y values, and if we multiply any of these y values, we're going to get a positive value, okay? So it's going to be all the x's greater than 1. Or you can write it in the other notation, which is x is an element 1, okay, from 1, but remember 1 is excluded, so that's why we have these round brackets up until positive infinity. Hopefully this one is clear. Let me know so that we can discuss it again. Which paper are you currently doing? 2019 November, maths paper 1. Maths paper 1. The C is DBE. Okay. Okay, if you got this, double tap the screen, or if you have any questions in connection with this question, let me know, okay? Mish 155, got it. Cool, cool. Okay. Who else got it? Give me a thumbs up, guys. Thank you for the follow. King sent likes. Okay, Princess got it in pillow. Okay, Keenan got it, please, to calculus. Yes, we're getting there. We just need to do some of these functions. Okay, for those who have just joined us, obviously you can see that we're doing some questions that I constantly get in my DMs or everywhere else. And also on Saturday, I confirmed when I did a live and I had a poll, and then some said, okay, let's do calculus, let's do more functions. So that's what we're doing now. Okay, so let's look at the next one. The next one asks us, let's do that. So the next one asks us, use the graph to determine the values of x for which g of x, that is the inverse, remember that's the inverse, is less than equal to -1. This one is worth 2 marks. I'm going to give you a minute or so of a head start. Somebody asked, have you done the 2018 paper? Yes, we did that, I think yesterday, 2 days ago. No, lying. Yesterday was Monday. I think we did it on Saturday. And last week Saturday. Go check, so go check on the YouTube, on my YouTube. You can just type my YouTube handle, www.youtube.com/ and then @PaulVanWebster. You'll go straight to my YouTube, or you can just click on the link in my bio. Okay, so remember, we're busy with 5.4.2. I apologize for asking this, but I just joined a few minutes ago when you were busy with 5.3. But how did you do 5.2? Somebody asked, do you do physics too? No, I don't do physics. How did I do 5.2? 5.2 is where we switch the x and the y to get the equation of the inverse. Okay, so the first important thing was to get the equation of this one, which is the exponential, and the inverse of the exponential is the log function. So inverse means basically just swap your x and your y. Okay, so the equation of this one was important. Okay, so if you got your answer for this one, double tap the screen or just give me a thumbs up so that we can move on to the next question. We have about 30 minutes left. Let's see. Thank you, Camila. Say thank you. Pleasure. Can you do question 5.4.1 again? Paul Sehan. Okay, so basically here the question was, okay, we should use our graph to find the values of x. If we multiply, remember this f of x just means y values, but we are not, at the end of the day, we're not going to say y blah blah blah. They ask us to the values of x, but we're looking at the y. So we are asking ourselves, if we multiply those y values, we must get greater than 0. In other words, we must get a positive value. Okay, if we multiply those y values, but we have to look in which x region. So and by the way, positive multiplied by positive is positive, and negative multiplied by negative is also positive. But if we look at this function here, which is the log function, we don't have any x doesn't exist on the negative on that side. Okay, there's no x's on that side. Okay, for this one, so it's not going to be useless if we're going to say, okay, it's going to be on that side. So we look at the next section. It's from here till here. Okay, if we multiply any y values here, this y value with that y value, we're going to get a negative answer. But from this point onwards, from x equal to 1, from this point onwards, if we multiply any y value here, so this y value multiplied by that y value, we're going to get something positive. Okay, so that means it's going to be all the x's greater than 0. If we multiply any y values from this point onwards, anything here and here, we're going to get a positive answer. Okay, so hopefully it makes more sense. What would be the range of somebody asked, okay, let's go back, can you do 5.4.1 again? So that's that. And then so the range depends you, yeah, the range, let me just, because that's a broad question, what would be the range of the graph? So the range is just going to be, domain is for all the x values that the graph exists. And the range is, that's the range, and the domain is for all, wait, the domain is the x values for which all the graph exists, and the range is the for all the y values the graph exists. Remember, there's two graphs, so you can't just ask what is the range. You have to be specific. So let's go and look at 5.4.2. Here they ask us, oh, nobody gave me the answer for this one. Somebody say, somebody, okay, thank you, Paul. My answer for 5.4.2, this one here, is x less than or equal to 1. Is that right? No. Okay, meant x greater than or equal to 1. Okay, so let's have a look quick here as well. So this one is a bit tricky because there's no specific values between this point and that point, because you will have to look at this one. Okay, so now they ask here, for which values of x is my g of x going to be less than equal to -1? So what I did was, okay, let me move on to, let me see, can I do this? Okay, yeah, I'm going to write here. So this is going to be 5.4.2. Okay, so it's going to be somewhere between 0 and 1. Okay, but not 1 included. So, but now they are being very specific here. They say basically at y equal to -1. But remember, this is not an equality symbol. This is an inequality symbol. So I have to ask myself, what's happening at y equal to -1 for this function of g of x? So remember, g of x, we calculated g of x. G of x was this here. Okay, remember this and this is the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to ask myself, what is happening at x, y equal to -1? Because here you're talking about y, basically y is less than equal to -1. So I'm going to substitute into this formula -1. So let's quickly see what's going to happen. So I'm going to write it in pencil because this is not something that you're going to include. Okay, I'm just writing it or explaining it so that you can see it. Because whatever you're going to write here in the first place, that's what they're going to mark, and then it's going to be wrong in this case. Okay, so x is equal to 2, and we want to see what's happening at -1. X, so y equal to -1. So that means x is going to be a half. Okay, a half. So let's quickly go draw at x equal to a half, a line there. So at x equal to half, so half is going to be here. Hopefully you guys can see that, half at that point. Then we're going to get a y value of, what did we put? Inside -1. Okay, so from this point, the question here is, where is my g of x less than -1? Okay, so it's going to be everything between this point, between 0 and a half. Okay, then I'm going to get something that's close to -1. Okay, so it's going to be all my x values less than equal to a half, but greater than 0. Or you can write it in the other notation, which is all the x is an element between 0 is excluded, and half, but half is included. Hopefully this one makes sense. It's worth 2 marks, but you had to do an extra step to calculate this, to calculate the half here, because half wasn't on the graph, so you had to calculate it. But I now understand. Okay, so somebody say, okay, I flubbed this question, but now I understand it, how to do it. Thanks. Cool, man. Glad that you got it. Guys, just hold on for the next 23 minutes. We're going to see how far we can get. So that was the last. No, we still have to do this one. Okay, somebody say, can you explain the question one more time, please? Not be loud. I still don't understand, Felisa. So that's what Felisa is saying. 5.4.2. Yeah, it's a bit tricky because you had to do an extra step here. Okay, so here they're talking, remember, here they say -1. Okay, they're talking about -1 here, but nowhere, remember, this they say g of x, which is the inverse, right? The inverse, it's the log function. G of x is less than equal to -1, but nowhere they indicated on this paper here or here where we've drawn something about -1. And then I said, okay, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute in my y value equal to -1, because remember they're talking about y here, so that I can see what x values is going to work for me in order to get close to this answer. So remember earlier on we calculated the inverse of the log function, and it was given as inverse of the exponential function. So we got to this point. Then I said, after that I said, but I'm going to use this so that I can substitute in the y equal to -1. Okay, so that's what I did here. Okay, so when I did it here, let me just move up. So my y is going to be -1. I got an x equal to a half. But then I said, okay, this, you shouldn't write this on the paper, because what the examiner is going to do is going to mark it incorrect. Okay, because remember, the first thing that you write is supposed to write on your piece of paper, supposed to be your answer, and this is not your answer. Your answer is this. But before we get to this point, I explained this section here. Okay, that's why I wrote it in pencil. So now we have an x value, because they're talking about we need to find values of x. So basically we had to take an extra step and calculate that x value. So now we have the x value, okay, which is a half, and at this point a half we can get we're going to, obviously we saw that we're going to get -1. Okay, so we're going to get close to this. X is going to be, my g of x is going to be less than equal to -1 between this and that. Remember, this symbol basically just means we are estimating something. Okay, so it's going to be all my x values between 0. It must be between 0 and something on that side, because this graph don't exist on the left side. Okay, there's a asymptote there. So it's going to be all my values between 0 and a half. Okay, so it's x's less than a half but greater than 0. If you not so comfortable with this one is basically just saying all my x's, x is an element between 0, but 0 must be excluded because there's an asymptote, and a half, but halves should be included. So if you, at the end of the day, if you take any value between 0 and a half and you substitute it in your original equation here, then it should be less than -1. Okay, it was a mouthful, but hopefully that's understandable. Okay, oh, I get it now. Okay, I'm glad that you got it. Thank you so much. Pleasure. Oh, it makes sense. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's move on to our last one, 5.5. For those who have just joined us, make sure that you share this live, double tap the screen so that more grade 12 students can see this. We are busy with 5.5. Okay, the last one is where they say if h of x is equal to f, and inside the brackets it's minus x. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Calculate the value of x, for which if we subtract the f of x, which is this equation, or we got 2 to the power of x. Okay, so remember, let me just write it here. This one is now, remember, we got this answer. This was f of x. We already calculated this. This is 2 to the power of x. Okay, so they say calculate the value of x for which, if we subtract the original one or the new one from the old one, we're supposed to get 15 over 4, but we should calculate the x. Okay, so somebody asked, what province are we working with in this paper? This is national paper. Okay, it's a national paper, so everybody's going to get, it's not provincial paper, it's what district paper. Okay, just hold on guys, we're almost done. Make sure that you double tap the screen so that more grade 12 students can see this, share this live. Also, it will be helpful. Okay, somebody asked, how can one get hold of national papers for practice? You'll find it on the website. It is, I keep on forgetting the website. GOV. It's on the national education.gov.co.za, excuse me. So it's education.gov.za. Yeah, you can, but if you go to Google and you type in question paper matric 2018 paper and memo, you'll get it, because you must get something. Okay, so if you have the x value, double tap the screen or just drop a comment so that I can see it. If you got the answer, you're busy with question 5.5, and then we're going to move on to some, I think it's calculus. Yes, because that's also one of the sections that you guys have inquired. If you have your answer, let me give you a few more seconds. Will you be doing another drive for paper 1 before Friday? Yes. But to be, okay, before I start, to make it more effective, you guys that are on here, I'm going to give you the privilege of sending me some question, if there's a specific question, okay, or questions that you'd like to do, and then I will look at all of them, and then I will just pick the top 3 or the ones that have been asked the most. Maybe not your specific question. Let's say, for instance, you have a calculus and you have a whatever the functions question, and somebody and 5 other people say calculus and functions, then we're going to do functions, okay, or calculus, one of those two. Or if you can be really specific, then I will do that. Okay, so let's do the last question of this question 5. Here they ask us, so none of you guys gave me the answer. Really sad now. Should we send the questions to you directly or comment here? Comment, or I'm not sure if the Q&A is still active here on TikTok, but I will definitely have a look there, or you can DM me. It's not so clustered and crowded there. On Instagram. Okay, so let's look at this one. Here say if h of x is equal to f inside the brackets is minus x. Calculate the values of x, for which if we subtract those two equations, the new one that we're talking about here and the original one, which is 2 to the power of x, we're supposed to get 15 over 4. So let's write this down mathematically. So the new equation that was introduced here, h of x is equal to f of minus x. But remember, in the beginning it was given that f of x is equal to 2 to the power of x. So wherever you see, this is telling us, wherever you see an x, okay, it's supposed to be now a negative x. And that will be this equation. So it's going to be equal to 2 to the power of negative x. Okay, that will be your h of x. So there's that one. And then further on, they say if we subtract this new equation from the original one, we're supposed to get 15 over 4. So let's write that down mathematically. So it's going to be the f of x, which is 2 to the power of x, and we're subtracting the h of x, which is now this new one, which is 2 to the power of negative x. And they say it's equal to 15 over 4. Okay? 15 over 4. The main question here is we need to calculate the value of x. So let's do that. So the first thing, there's many ways that you can do this. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to write this. I'm going to see what's going to happen if I convert, because at the end of the day I want x equal to something. And this is basically just question one type of question, this, okay, where you need to solve for x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, let me first get rid of this negative exponent. So that's going to be 2 to the power of x minus 1 over 2 to the power of x equal to 15 over 4. Okay, now I have that. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, let me, because here is 2 to the power of x and here's 2 to the power of x, it's the same thing. I'm just going to say let, or make 2 to the power of x equal to k. So that means this now here is going to become k minus 1 over k equal to 15 over 4. The next thing that I'm going to do is I don't want any fractions, so I want to get rid of the fractions. So I'm just going to multiply by k, and I'm going to multiply by 4 in one go, okay? So this here is going to become 4. Well, let me first multiply by k so that you can see what I mean. So I'm going to multiply this by k. So I'm going to get k squared. I need to multiply this also by k, so this is going to become 1. Equal to, and I'm going to multiply this by k as well. So I'm going to get 15 over 4k. Now I'm also going to multiply by 4. Remember, you can do both these in one step. So I'm going to I have to multiply this side by 4, so that this 4 and that 4 on the right side can cancel, and I need to multiply this also by 4. So it's going to be 4k squared minus 4 equal to 15k. Remember, you can do this in one go. You don't have to do this extra step. You can go straight from here to that point. Okay, so that means we're going to get 4k squared minus 15k minus 4 equal to 0. And this is a quadratic equation, which means I can solve k, or factorize and then solve k. So it's going to be 2 brackets, and then it's going to be 4k plus 1, and it's going to be k minus 4 equal to 0. Hopefully you guys can still see what's happening here. So if I solve k, I'm going to get 1k is equal to negative a quarter, and or 1k is equal to 4. But remember, we are not looking for k. We are looking for the values of x. But remember, in the beginning we also said, okay, let 2 to the power of x equal to k. So instead of k, I'm going to have 2 to the power of x equal to k negative 1 over 4, or 2 to the power of x is equal to 4. But remember, there's no way you're going to get the x value from this one. Okay, so that's why this one is not applicable. No solution for this one, but for this one there is, because here for this we can still rewrite this as 2 to the power of x, and 4 we can also write as 2 squared, and because the bases are the same, that means the x is going to be equal to 2, and this is your final answer. This one is worth 4 marks. I think it's quite a lot of work for 4 marks. Let's see if there's any questions here. Let's see. Lehlo nolo, I'm going to mess it up, but Lehlo nolo. So was h the inverse of f? Or we translate it above the y-axis? And if you don't mind, can you clarify what do they mean when they say in the line y is translated about yeah, so earlier on, so this is a, hopefully that person who asked, so earlier on a question was, is inverse and reflection the same thing? So it's not the same thing. The reason why I say that is because reflection, you can reflect about, in your case, you can reflect in the y, about the y-axis, so you can reflect like that, or you can reflect about the x-axis, okay, or you can reflect in the line y equal to x. So this is going to become your this is basically also called your, some textbooks say it's inverse line, okay. So you can reflect like this, or like that, or like that. So when you reflect in this way, then your positive, or about the y x-axis, then your positive y, as you can see, it was positive, it's going to become negative, okay. And if you reflect in the y-axis, then your positive x is going to become your, if I flip it on that side, it's going to become a negative x. So here, in this case, let's say for instance here it was positive x, but now reflecting it in the, excuse me, it's now changing into negative x. So that basically just means one thing, we're reflecting in the y-axis. Hopefully that clear things up for you. Lehlo nolo. Lehlo nolo. Okay, so let's get to the next one. Okay, we're done with this question. Okay, guys, we have like 10 minutes left. We're not going to rush this thing. We're going to continue tomorrow because I have to go in the next 10 minutes. But let me know. Okay, so we are busy now with calculus, which is, oopsie. Question 7. Okay, so okay guys, I'm gonna ask anyway, how do you guys feel about me doing question 7.1? If so, give me a thumbs up. If not, give me a thumbs down, because this is just a bunch of substitution that we have to do here. So just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you want me to do it. If you don't want me to do it, give me a thumbs down. But maybe you guys want the juicy stuff. So this means, let's do it. This means no, it's easy. Okay, 7, user 15 say it's easy. King say let's do this. Princess say it's not necessary. Chantel say, so out of, somebody say no, finger down. So we have 1, 2, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we're going to skip this one. Okay. So let's go to 7.1. 7.1. Okay. Let's see. Okay, Misha, it's okay. Chantal say let's do this. There's more. Terry Cloud say okay, no, it's okay. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so let's do 7.2. Because this is quite a long one, okay? Because it's just basically substituting into your formula, the first principles one. First principles, it's 4 marks. This is like 4 giveaway marks. But one thing I can give the main tip here with this one, remember at the end of the day, you're going to do a lot of calculations and you're going to get the answer. And to test if your answer is correct, you will have to use your differentiation rules. The first one, the general one, that say, to derive this with respect to x, this is going to become 0 and this is going to become -7. So if you're doing first principles and you do all of those calculations and you get to the point where you get, let's say, 2, then your answer is wrong. Then you made an error somewhere. So the final answer for this one is going to be -7. Even if you just write -7 and you made a mess somewhere, then you'll get a mark. Okay, so let's move to 4.2. They are asking us to determine dy dx if y is equal to 4x to the power of 8 plus the square root of x cubed. Okay, so let's quickly write that down. So y is equal to 4 to x to the power of 8 plus square root x cubed. This means we need to derive. Remember, there's a lot of notation. There's a bunch of notations. This means derivative, this means derivative, and there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more ways they can indicate, okay, how to derive. Okay, so you need to know. And by the way, have a be very cautious when you need to derive, because you'll later on see that we are not deriving with respect to x, but something else. But in this case, we need to look at the x. So before we even do that, I can say, okay, this is easy to derive, but this one is a bit of the tricky one, okay? So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this in such a way that I can derive it, okay? So let's first convert this from surd form to exponential form. So this is going to remain the same, plus x to the power of 3 and that invisible 2 there. Okay, but that's not the answer. We're not looking for the simplified whatever version. We are trying to derive this. So let's derive that, and now I'm going to start writing dy dx. 8 times 4 is 32. Let me take this, 32, and then further on the rules say keep this base, and then we subtract 1 from that, so it's going to become 7. That's a 7, guys. There's a plus symbol. There's an invisible 1, so we're multiplying this 3 over 2 with the 1, so it's going to remain 3 over 2. And this, the rule further on, so leave that as it is, and then we subtract 1 from 3 over 2. So it's just going to be 1 over 2, and this is your final answer. How many of you guys got that? I didn't even give you an opportunity to do it, okay? Which somebody else, hi Paul, sorry to worry you, but if get time tomorrow can go over some financial maths, okay? We'll see. Tomorrow is Wednesday. If not tomorrow, then Thursday. Fingers crossed. Okay, Mish got it, Princess got it. Well done, guys, well done. What time do you usually do lives? We don't have any, depends what time I get opportunity, but definitely tomorrow. But it will definitely be before 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And we don't have any load shedding today, and because I'm in Cape Town, so, and we also don't have any load shedding tomorrow. So I'm sorry guys if you have load shedding. Let's move on to the next one, 7.3. So here comes that one. I think I can squeeze in 2 more questions, okay, because it's like 3 marks worth. So they gave us ax squared. So it's given that y is equal to ax squared plus a. Now we need to determine dy dx. So it's quite easy. We deriving with respect to x. So the only thing that we have to look at is x. So let's quickly write that down. So let me do that. Ax squared plus a. Okay, so that means dy dx is going to be all that we have to do is we leave this as it is. We're not worried about this. We need to change this here. So it's going to be 2 multiplied by a, which is 2a. This remain there. And then the only thing that we need to subtract is this 1 from that. So there's an invisible 1. Plus this derivative of a is going to be 1, because 1 multiplied by the invisible 1 is 1. And then there's still the invisible 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So a to the power of 0 is 1. You don't have to write multiply by 1 here. This will be your final answer. This was 7.3.1. Okay, if you got that one, please let me know. Let's see. Here we go. For those who have just joined us, we're about to finish here. We're going to do one more question, which is this one here. And tomorrow, make sure that you share. You can still share this live, okay? And let all of your friends know that we're going to, I don't want to say to follow me and stuff like that. But I'm going to try my best to set up a reminder so that you can just, a TikTok live reminder. And then you can just tap on it and then you'll be notified when I go live. But also if you follow me, you'll be notified. Okay, in 20, okay, let's see. Okay. Believe. Yeah, this is a 2019 paper, DBE. Okay, so it's not IB. Okay, let's look at the final one, 7.3.2. And now in this one, so now, like I said, we have to be careful because here they're asking us to derive this equation, but with respect to a. Okay, so not with respect to x usually. Like usual we do x, but now we're going to do a. Okay, so that means my x is going to remain and we're just going to scratch we're just going to, like that. We're going to leave this as it is because we're just deriving. This is basically now our x. So dy dA. Okay, so if I had to rewrite this one more time, it will be the same as this. It's not necessary, but I'm just showing you now. Plus a. So that you can see, okay? So there's an invisible 1. So that 1 multiplied by this, it's going to be x squared. And remember, a to the power of 0. This is going to be 1 minus 1, which is 0. A to the power of 0 is 1. You don't have to write multiply by 1. Plus the derivative of this is 1. And this will be your final answer. Okay guys, that's it. I have to leave now. Okay, let me just read if there's any questions. Somebody asked what time tomorrow. Yeah, so like I said, the best way is I don't want to say follow me together. I don't want to do that. But if for those who are following me, if I go live, they will be notified. But what I also don't want to give time, because we have no load shedding tomorrow. And whenever ISCOM is going to say, okay, we have stage 5, then it's going to mess up the whole thing. But it's going to be before 5 o'clock. Most of my sessions is between 3:30 and 5 o'clock. Okay. Somebody say, I didn't get the last one. Okay. Okay, short for the revision, but thank you very much. Okay, let's quickly go over the last one. It's the second, no, it's not second derivative. Second derivative is something else, okay? Don't get confused. Second derivative is when there's an invisible, not invisible, but they will write it, there will be a 2 there, okay? Or they will write it like this. So yeah, but this one, let's see. I warned you guys earlier that, look here, for this one, yeah, this was given, okay? So here they say y is equal to a multiplied by x squared plus a. And in this one, okay, we were deriving with respect to x because there's a x. So all you had to do was take this 2, multiply by a, and then we got 2a, and then we subtract 1 from that. So it was x to the power of 2 minus 1, and this became 1, so that's why we have x to the power of 1. And then derivative of, where's that one? Oh my guys, sorry. This was supposed to be a 0 here. There was no x. I don't know why. Look, it was supposed to be 0. Guys, you were sleeping here. So sorry, that's my bad. There's no x there, so you can't. This is supposed to be 0. Okay. Yeah. So here in this one, the second one, they're asking us to derive with respect to A. This one was X here. Okay, so in this way, so I said, okay, if you're a little bit confused, write it in this way, because here the X was here. So you said, okay, I'm going to say this multiplied by that. But here it's now the other way around. And then I said, okay, this is going to be basically your A. So here's an invisible one. You multiply by this. So that's why we got X. And then this, obviously, derivative of this is going to be 1. Okay, so we don't have to write multiply by 1 there. And derivative of this is 1, and this is your final answer. Hopefully that's clear enough, whoever asked that. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so it's a good thing you asked me to explain that one again, guys. Okay, so tomorrow, yeah, it's good. The session is going to be between 3:30 and 5 o'clock. I won't say never, go to 6 o'clock stuff. Okay. Okay, is there any other questions that you guys want to ask me? Not in connection with this, because I have to go now in the next 2 minutes.